Hello, am I audible? Can you hear me? Hi, can you hear me? If you can hear me, just type yes in the chat so that I know that you can hear me. Right. Yes, loud and clear. Hi, Sakib. Okay, so let me just see how many are there. So we have 3 people right now. Let's wait for a couple of minutes so that the others can join and then we can start with the session. So today's agenda is quite depth. So I'll just put in what we are going to actually do today uh, over here. So I just added a link in the chat. So this is what we are going to this is what we are going to be making today. You can click on the link and check it, right? And I'll also be sharing the data file with you, and the styling and all. I'll also show you where to do the styling from. So in the chat you can just find what we are going to make. And for styling, basically we'll be using a component library which I have basically built this component library. So I'll just add the link of the component library also in the chat. So there's a link for the component library. We will use cards from this component library, and yeah, so we'll be basically using these two websites, one for reference and the other for styling. Okay. Yeah. So is it good? The project that we are going to make, it's apparel cart. If you click on it, so the side, the everything, the filter is actually applied. So this is what we were supposed to actually make, right? Okay. I'm just checking if everything is working fine. So things are working fine. I think the price low to high is not working. So we will fix that in tomorrow's session as well. It's not a big deal. But rest everything is working fine for now. So this is what we are actually going to make in today's session. And for styling, we'll be using the component library. So let me start sharing my screen. So yeah, let's get started. Okay. So for styling, we are actually going to use this component library. So what you have to simply do is you have to click on get started, and then you will see a list of components, and along with their source code as well, right? And so there are many components. You can just scroll it from the side. The component that we are interested in is the card component, right? And even in the card component, we are only interested in this vertical card component, right? So I have basically used this vertical card component in this apparel card over here. Only the width of this card component is smaller as compared to this one, right? And in this over here, I've also reduced the size and I've added rating also. So a component library is generally like the good to have part in any component or any element, and then you can, on top of that, you can add a lot of different things, whatever you want. So the code is over here. This is the code. You can just click over here to copy the code and paste it in your HTML, and then you will be able to see this card. Provided you have to also specify the link for the image also, right? So the image and only the image would be required. and for this add to cart also there will be an image required, but we will remove that because we do not want it, since you are only doing the filter part, so that is actually not required at all. Okay, so seems good. So today mostly we'll be doing the styling, and probably in the next session, then in tomorrow session we will basically do the write the code. So yeah, so what we are going to do is we are basically going to use code sandbox only, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically create a new code sandbox. I'll remove this to-do list for now. Okay, and I'm going to create a new code sandbox over here. Cool. So how are you going to do that? And then we'll also use JSON file also, right? Because there are so many products over here. See, there are n number of products over here. I think there are 9 products only. So I have a data set of 9 products. So we have to create a JSON file as well. So you don't have to worry to create the JSON file. I've already created a JSON file for us to use. This should be your end product whenever you want, right? We won't be focusing more on that, but we'll be focusing on this only. Okay, so let's get started. So I've taken a React app, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to write over here e-commerce filter app. Okay, and I'll just remove all of these things for now, because I do not want anything over here. I do not want any styling also of this div app or anything like that. I do not want any styling. I'll just remove all of them. I'll just add a fragment over here. If you remember what a fragment is, we discussed about this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this in the full window mode, right, over here, and I'm just going to close this. In order to close this, I just have to press Control, Shift and D. Okay, D for dog, doggy, donkey, whatever it is. Okay, now how are you going to do this? See, in order to put the cart, use the cart, it's very simple. As I told you, what you have to do is you just have to click over here. So the moment I click over here, then I can go to my code, and what I can do is over here in the return, I can put the brackets and I can just add the code over here, right? Now if you see, it basically gives me some errors, like it gives me some error over here, and it says JSX element image has no corresponding closing tag. So if you remember from the input tag, it didn't have any closing tag, so we basically added a / over here. Similarly for this image also, I will add a / over here. Now this is done, right? So now so see, basically a component, what actually is a component? A component is nothing but we saw it in the second session, I think. A component is basically you create a function, right? Something like this, and it returns an HTML. Okay, a component is nothing but a function which returns an HTML. So the name of the function which should start with capital letters. So if I save it and then if I open it over here, so if you see there are some things which come over here, but the styling has not come over here, right? These things are coming like premium collection, men's sneakers, and whatever these text are, it actually comes over here, but the styling does not come. So to get the styling, what I have to do is I have to again go into the documentation and then click on usage, and then in usage I can just import either I can just use this link tag, or I can use this CSS import. So I generally prefer CSS import to have all the CSS together. And what I'll do is go into the style.css, and over here at the top I'll just add import this thing, right? Import this URL. Now if I go back over here, now if you can see, there is some styling, right? Previously there was no styling at all, but now there is some styling. Now what is not coming? The image is not coming because we do not have any image. Because if you see over here, the link, right? The link to the image is asset/shoes.jpg, but we do not have anything like that. So what I can basically do is I can just search for, let's say I will search for Adidas shoes, for Adidas shoes, okay, just let's select that, and or let me just go to Flipkart. Okay, what I'll do is I'll just go to Flipkart, And on Flipkart, I'll just search for, just download an image from Flipkart. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. So I'm on Flipkart, and no, I don't want to log in. I'll just search for Adidas shoes, right? I get Adidas shoes. So it's pretty simple. What I'll do is I'll just click on it, and this image, open this image in new tab, and just copy the link of this image. So if I copy the link of this image, and then I'll just put the link over here, that this is the image that I want. Now if it goes out of the screen, just press Alt and Z, so that will be wrapped automatically. Alt and Z, Z for zebra. If I save it now, and then if I go back over here, so now if you can see that the card and the images both are actually coming, right? The image is coming and the card is also coming, and then there is add to cart, which is clickable also. But again, this image is not coming. This assets cart wide I do not have, and I don't even want this image, so I'll just remove this image, right? I don't want it for my purpose right now, so I'll just remove this image. And if I go back over here, so I have this beautiful card. So we have created one card for now, right? So see, the reason for me not writing all of the HTML is because since you have come to learn React, there is no point in writing all of these HTML, because I believe you might be knowing, or you should know HTML if you are learning React, right? If you just started learning React without HTML, you won't understand anything, right? So even as we know that when you have a component, you have to always return an HTML. So I'm just writing everything in the return. Correct. So we have all of these things, but all of these prices are hard coded. And see, the app.js, okay, the app.js should majorly have only the main pages, right? And all of these things, whatever we are doing, basically are called as components, right? This is one single component. Now I can make multiple components. Like if I come to my apparel cart, everything is same over here. See, the styling, the card is same. What is changing? It's just changing the images and the description, right? And the rating, the card's description, and that is only changing. So I'm creating the same component. I'm using the same div tag. I'm using the same image tag. I'm using everything. Only the value is being changed. And we know how to change the value dynamically by using JSX, by using curly braces, right? So that is what we are actually going to do now. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to extract this, right? So how do I extract this? So what I'm going to do is in the source, so I'll also tell you the folder structure. How is the folder structure of React? So the folder structure of React is quite simple. So let me open this thing. Let me open let me open a notepad from here. Okay, an empty notepad. So what is the folder structure of React? Okay, and let me just increase the size over here. The folder structure. Now understanding the folder structure is very important. Folder structure of React. So the folder structure of React is that in the public folder you basically will find the index.html. Okay, in the public folder you will find the index.html. That is what you get in the public folder. The source folder is all the magic that happens. In the source folder you have a components folder, right? In the components folder, then you have different components. Like let's say you have a product card, right? What we are having over here, this apparel card, this basically is called as a product card. So in the component, in the source you have a components, and then you have a product card over there. Let me come back over here. Yeah. And then what you have, then you might be having different more components. Like there will be a filter component also. And then in the filter component, there will be multiple other components. Like there will be a component of category, men, women. There will be a component of size, right? There will be a component of brands, right? So this is how we basically split the code. And after components, we'll also have pages as well. So there will be a folder for pages, which will have all your pages. Which can have the home page, and then which can have the product listing page, right? And so on, right? The product listing page and so on. Then after that, you also have there are other things also, like services and utilities as well. In utilities, we basically put logical code. So let's say there is something called as utils, where we write the logical code. Then comes basically the app.js, then comes the index.js, and then there is the styles.css as well, right? Styles.css. Now, for styling, you can either add the styling in the components folder, or you can create another folder for styling, and you can do styling over there also. So this is basically a structure of a folder structure of React. So make a note of this thing, because this is very important. Whenever you make a project, you should have something like this. So since we have to make a product card, what we'll do is we'll create a folder components, and if I bring my cursor on source, there is an option over here for new directory. I'll just write components, right? And in components folder, I want to create another folder for product card. Now why I'm doing another folder is because there will be many components, right? So I'll basically have all the components in separate folder. Where did it go? Right. So in the product card, now I will basically have a product card dot JSX. So now what is JSX? JSX basically, as you know, JavaScript syntax extension. Whenever we are actually creating a component, the extension that we give is JSX. JSX and JS both are same. You give extension JSX, you give extension JS, nothing is going to change much. So there's not much of a difference. So write product card dot JSX. What I'm going to do over here is I'm going to write const. So since it's a component, it should be capital. Const product card is equal to, right? So I'm using an arrow function, and then in the arrow function I'll just write return. Since it's a component, it should return something. Now what is it going to return? It's basically going to return this entire HTML, right? So whatever we have written over here, I don't want it over here. So I will cut it from here and put it in this product card. Okay. So I put it on over here. And what I'm going to do is I want to export this also. So I'll just write export over here. Why I'm doing export? Because I wanted to import in the app.js so that I can have it in the app.js. So I'll just set an export const product card, right? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in the app.js, right? And over here I'll just write import. Since I have done over here, which is not a default export. Okay, there are two types of export. There's a default export, there's a named export. So this is a named export where I'm exporting the component by its name. So when I import a named export, so when I import it, I have to add the name of the module inside the curly braces, right? So this component I have exported, it's a named component, not a default. So when I import a named component, I have to do product card from, and then what I have to do is I have to find the location. So from app.js, I have to go to component. So since both of them are in the same directory, I'll just write dot and backslash, so it will give me components, and again backslash, it will give me product card, again backslash product card. So what I'm saying is import the product card from this location, right? It's basically in this, the code is actually inside this file, and that file is in this folder product card. That folder is in the components folder, right? Once again, this product card is in this file. This file basically is in this folder. This folder is in this folder components. And what I'm going to do over here is I'm just going to write product card. That's it. So this is how basically I import a component. Now if I go back over here, see, nothing has changed. If I refresh it, it is still there, right? If I refresh it, it is actually still there and nothing is actually changing, right? So this is how I basically return a product card. Now the problem with this also is that if I want multiple, then what I have to do? I have to have a data set, right? How can we create multiple components by using only one single component? This we did in one of the class also. So there are a couple of people who are live. So can you tell me how we can from one single component we can create multiple components? How can we do that? Anyone in the chat? Can you tell me how can we do that? Yes? No, yes. Come on. Saki, are you there in the chat? Can you tell me how we can do that? Okay. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is basically I'm going to share a file in the chat, so you can get it from the chat. Okay. Uh, so I'm not sure how will I share a file. So basically I'm just going to put it as a comment in the chat. Okay, using use React fragment. So using React fragment, nothing is going to work. Fragment is basically uh, what is React fragment? See, fragment. This is what is React fragment, right? This is a React fragment. So what is a fragment? So fragment basically means it won't create an element in the DOM. It does not create any extra element in the DOM, just like div and something like that. So that is what a fragment actually is. But okay, good try, not a problem. So what I'm going to do over here is I am going to actually okay. So I will basically okay. So it is not allowing me to share the entire file. So I'll share only half of the data, uh, maybe for 5 to 6 products. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so I have data for I think 5 to 6 products. You can take that and you can use that data for now, and okay, so it's not allowing me to share the entire file. How do I share it? I have no clue. Okay, let me okay. Okay. If we set to create the entire data, it will take a long time for us for the images. Okay, let's create it. So what I'm going to do is in the public folder, I have to create a JSON file. So over here I'll just write products.json. So we are not going to create a lot of products, but only a couple of products. Okay. So by couple at least, I mean at least we'll create at least 3-4, but not more than that. Okay. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm just going to write import import v4 import v4 as uuid from uuid. Okay. Okay, and then over here I'm just going to write install the dependencies as well. Okay, it's giving me some error. I do not know why is it giving me an error. Let me just refresh it. Import v4 as uuid from uuid. Code sandbox usually takes a lot of time to reload. Do not know why does it take so much time to reload. And yeah, let me open this over here, and let me also close this as well. Control Shift D. Expected a JSON object. Yeah, I'll give you the JSON object. Okay, so for the JSON, okay, let's just remove this. For the JSON, what we are going to do basically is so this JSON will have a data as a key, and this basically will be an array, and this array will again have an object, right? This will again have an object, and in the object we will have ID. So everything now what we are going to do is we'll hard code it. So the ID, and this would be, let's say, 1. So whenever you are creating a JSON file, right? When you are creating a JSON file, the key value, everything in the JSON file should always be in the form of a string, right? Just use name. I'll use another key which would be name, and the name, let's say it would be men's sneakers, right? Or let's say it would be okay, men's shirt. Okay. So we'll make something like the shirt and the t-shirt thing. After the name, what we want is we want an image as well. So I'll just write image, and then the source, we'll just find the source, and we want the brand as well. So whatever is the brand, so let's say the brand is Roadster. Okay, and then after this we also want the price. So I'll just take the price for now, right? The price, let's say I'll keep it to be 1750, and we want two prices. So we want the old price and the new price. So I'll take the new price, and then I also want the old price. So just type old price. Now this should be in double inverted quotes, because otherwise it is going to give an error since it's a JSON file. And then over the actual price would be, let's say, 2499, and then I'll give a discount as well. So the discount would be, let's say, 60%, right? Everything has to be a string. If it's not a string, then it will create a problem, right? So I'll just make these also as a string. If it's an array, then it won't create a problem. I think these numbers also will work fine. These numbers also won't create any error, right? After the discount, what do we want? We want the size as well, right? So the size, let's say I'll just make it L, and we want the rating as well. Okay, so I'll make the rating to be 4.2. Okay, so this is the data structure. See, understanding the data structure is also very important. How do you create a JSON file? So this is a structure for JSON file. Now if you put this in single inverted quotes, it's still going to give you an error. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to copy this, and I'm just going to create 3 for this for now, and then you can create much more as you want. So instead of men, I'm just going to make it women's, and instead of Roadster, we'll just change the brand to something else. Let's say the brand is Forever 21. Okay, and the price would be, let's say, 499, and percentage, I do not know what percentage I'm actually adding. I'm just adding some random percentage. The size would be, let's say, medium, and the rating would be, let's say, 4.7. Okay, and then the last one is again a men's shirt. Let's change the brand to John Players, right? And the price would be, let's say, 2750, and this would be 3599. So the discount, I think, would be somewhere around 80. I do not know. The size would be, let's say, XL, something which would fit me also, and this would be 3.3. Okay, so I have the JSON file ready. Okay, so it was good. We did a good attempt and created a JSON file too quickly. I was not expecting us to do it so too quickly. Can we create a JSON file and host it on Netlify? Yeah, so see, I'll basically give you my GitHub account as well, and if all the data is over there in the GitHub, you can basically download it from there as well. At the end, I'll just put my GitHub link in the chat, so you can use my GitHub also. I have my LinkedIn profile in the description. You can go on the LinkedIn, and there is a link for GitHub as well, right? So we have this JSON file. Now how do we use this JSON file, right? Using JSON file is actually a very good thing. First of all, your JSON file should always be in the public folder. It cannot be in the source or any other folder, right? So in order to use the JSON file, what I have to do basically is I have to use something called as axios, because I have to just get the data, to fetch the data. So what I'll do is over here I'll write import axios from axios. If you don't know what axios is, just read about what axios is. You can just read about the documentation of axios. Just search for axios documentation, and just read about what axios is. It's not that difficult. It's very simple. I won't say it is very, very simple. If you want to use it in your React VS Code, so you can just do npm install, and if you click on Axios API over here, so you have all of these things, right? Whatever we use over here. So there is this post request, get request, and you can see all of them. So we will basically be using the get request in order to get the data, right? So you can read more about them. So how will I do that? So to do that, I require a couple of things. So the first thing basically that I require is states. I require use effect, and I also require a use state hook. So use effect and use state. So I'll just write import use state, and use effect, import use state, comma use effect from React. You see, if you understand this thing, you can use any JSON file. The approach is quite simple, or the approach is quite similar only. Okay, what I'm going to do is, over here I'm just going to use a use effect, right? Or first I'll just write const products, I'll create two states for const products, comma set products is equal to use state, and this should be an array, right? Okay, this should be an array. Okay, why this should be an array, I'll tell you later on. Now first of all, let's just get the data. So I'll just use a use effect, and this would take a callback, right? And I want to render this whatever I write only for the first time. Now what I want is, I will basically use a try catch, and then I will basically get the data. Now to do that, basically I need async await, right? Do you know what async await actually is? If you don't know async await, read about that. So for async await, it's basically a function, and I want to call it over here. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to use an ify. Okay, so I hope you know what this is. So this basically is called as ify, immediately invoked function. Okay, immediately invoked function. You can read about it. It's basically you create a function and then you call it immediately. So in the first parentheses you write the function code. In the second you basically you call it. So what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to write async, and this would be a function, right? Async function, and in the async function what I'm going to do is, I'm basically going to use a try catch. So just write try and catch the error if there is any error, and just do console.log the error, like whatever is error, just do console log. So in the try, what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to write const data is equal to axios dot get. What do I want to get? I just want to get this JSON file, right? So it's very simple. You just have to write products, the name of the file, products.json, products.json. And what I'm going to do is, once I get it, I'll also console log it. So in order to see whether I'm getting the correct thing or not, I'll just write console.log and then the data. Okay, and I'll do control shift D so that I can see it also. So if I save this now, okay, if I save it now, and if I refresh it, it basically is okay, it says promise pending. Okay, name promise. So it gives a promise object. Okay, so why does it give a promise object? Because since we are using async, we also have to add an await over here, right? So that's async await, and if I save it now, wow, the data is here, right? So we get the object, right? We get the object, and then in the object, this basically is an array which has 3 data, right? So see, I'll also show you how to basically, get the data, or how to destructure the object. That is also what I'm going to cover over here. So if you see that we get an object, but we do not want an object. What we want is, we want this data key, right? Because this data key has an array, right? This data key is an array, so we want this thing. So it's very simple. In order to restructure it, I'll just put a curly braces over it. So if I save it, now if you see, I get the data. So instead of this thing, what I can do is, I can just make this as product, or let's say products. If I do products, and then if I do console.log products, I'm going to get the same thing. Okay, let me just refresh it. Okay. Products. So if I save it now, so I get data. So I can basically, if I do this thing, so I'm not getting anything, so let's make this data only. Okay, let's make this also data, and then in this data I just want the array. So what I can do over here is, I can do colon, let's say data, I have to restructure this as well. Yeah. So I've done 2 levels of restructuring. So what was I getting? So when I basically get the data, I was getting it in the form of an object. I restructured that, and then I got this array also, right? So I have this array. Okay, so let me do this once again. So what have I done over here is, uh, I've just did const data is equal to await, since we are using a sync, so await axios dot get, and I wanted to get the data from the products dot json. And so if I save it now, what I basically get is I get an object. Okay, so if I refresh it, I am basically getting an object over here, right? And I'll get it on the first render only because I've added this array. Now what I want is, I only want this data. I don't want status and all the things. So I just want this data. So what I can do is, I can just add curly braces over here. So if I do that, right, so if you see, I just get data, right? So earlier I was getting everything, but now I only get the data. If I refresh it, I get the data. Now from the data, again, this is an object, and in that object again there is a key called data, which is nothing but an array. So I'm only interested in the array, not interested in the key. So again I can put a colon, and again I want to restructure it. So I'll add again data in the curly braces. Now I'll get only the array. Now what I'm going to do is, since I've got an array, I will set this array to this products data, right? Since I want this also, right, I want this data to be stored somewhere. Whatever data I've received over here, I'm doing console log, but I do not want console log, right? I want this data to be stored somewhere and then reused again and again. So how do we manage state? How do we manage this data? In order to manage this data in React, we use states, right? See, in order to manage data in React, you don't use variables the way you do in JavaScript. You use states over here. So what I'm going to do over here is, instead of console log, I'm just going to do set products to whatever the data is, right? So now what I'm doing is, now if I do console log the products, right? If I do console log the products, I will keep on getting the products. Okay, if I do console.log the products, okay, they should not create an error over here. Okay, console log the products. See, if I log the products, yeah, so see, if I log the products, I basically get an array, right? I'm just logging the products, I'm not logging anything else. Let me refresh it and show it to you again. If I log the products, I basically get an array over here, an array of objects. Amazing, right? Is this clear? Any doubt? Vaibhav Goel says class name error is irritating, please remove that. Okay. The class name class. Okay, so yeah, good that you are paying attention and you pointed this out. So it's basically I just have to so since this component library that I've made, this is basically made with HTML and CSS, and it uses only class, so that's why I keep on getting this error. Okay, nevertheless, let me just remove this. So this should be class name. Okay, so now it won't give errors, these class name errors. Okay, great. Now I have the products also. Now in order to create multiple products, it's very simple. I just have to map over it. So what I'm going to do over here is, I am just going to remove this return from here, right? And I'll basically use this over here. And then what I'm going to actually do is, I am going to use a div, right? A div with the class name is equal to d-flex. Okay. Now where is this d-flex coming from? This d-flex is coming from this component library. So if you see, this d-flex basically means display flex. Then there is align center and all the things that we can write. So I'll just write d-flex and I'll put a gap and I'll just do wrap also. So this will do flex. So the gap basically will create a gap of 1.5 rem, something like that. And then I'm also basically going to wrap it also. Like if it goes, it should not go out of the screen, it should just wrap it down. And what I'm going to do over here is, okay, let me just do this thing. And in this I'm going to do, if I have products, okay, if I have products, then and the products dot length is greater than 0, then what I'll do is, then only I'll do map, right? Then only I'll do map. Now why have I done all of these things? Products, so this basically I'm checking whether products is not undefined. So the product is not undefined, and if the products dot length is greater than 0, right? So the products can be an empty array as well, right? So if it's empty array, it's not undefined, so this, it will pass this condition. But I also want to check if there is some products. If the products dot length is also not undefined, then what I'll do is I'll do map. And how will I do map? I'll just do map product, and what I'll do is, in the product, okay, in the product, then what I'll do is I'll just write product card. Now to just call the product card. So what I'm doing is, you just map over the this products array, and when you map over it, you just basically render the product card. So if you remember, for the second or the third session, we did list as well, right? We were doing the list we were doing rendering list, and we did that thing. So if I refresh it now, if I save it now, if I go back over here, boom, we get 3 different cards. Amazing, right? Why are we getting 3 different cards? Because in the product.json we have 3 data. If I increase this, right, in the product.json, if I make this become 4 data, right, I had to change this ID also. So let me make this over here, and 4, and then if I make this as to be a woman's t-shirt, and the brand and all, I don't know what more brand does the woman apparel has. Let's say this is 2500, and the discount I'm not checking at all, okay? So if you know any women's clothing brand, just let me know, I'll just add it. So if I save it now, and if I go back over here, right, if I refresh this, so now if you see, there are 4 cards. So depending on the number of data you have in the product.json, you'll have 4 different cards. Now the beauty is that you have just written one single component, right? You just written one single component, and then with that one single component, the 4 cards have been generated. But now we want dynamic cards, right? We want dynamic data as well. So let's change the data. So how do we change the data? So in order to change the data, what I have to do is, I have to pass this data, this products data, this object. Now where is this object? Now if I know that these objects is basically stored in this products array, right? Because if I do over here console.log the products, okay, if I do console.log the products, so I have this array, right? I have this array over here, and this array basically is nothing but this thing only, ID and the name and the image and the brand and all the things for Dinkana is, everything is over here. And then it also gives me this error warning, each child in the list should have a unique key. We have done this also, right? So there's no need to worry about anything, I have got it covered. So how will I get the key? And how will I pass the data? So it's very simple. So the first error is warning each child should have a unique key. So this is the child, this should have a key, so I'll just make key is equal to, now instead of giving the key as index, what is the key that I'll give? In curly braces, I'll just make it product dot ID, right? Because I have an ID, right? When I do console log products, I get an ID, right? I get an ID over here. Every product has its own unique ID, so I basically get an ID. So I'm going to use, and if we have made every ID a unique ID, right? You can also use UUID, which we did in one of the class. Okay, great. What I also want to do is, in the component, I also want to pass a product, right? So I'm going to pass a prop now. So if you remember props, how did we do it? We use product is equal to, in curly braces, we just write product, right? So what is this? I'm basically passing it as a prop over here, okay? I'm just basically passing the product as a prop. After passing product as a prop, I can go to the product card, and see, generally we do props dot and we write props over here, and then we can do props dot product and all the things. But since we know that props is also an object, right? When you do this thing, when you log props, you will see props is nothing but an object, and props in this case will receive this product as a key, right? Now since this it receives this product as a key, and this will have these values only, right? The value, so the first will be this value, then the second will be the second object, and so on. So what I can do is I can just destructure it directly and just write product directly over here. But I'm basically, instead of writing props and then props dot product on the next line, I can just write product, that I'm basically passing a product. Now when I get a product, what I can do is I can basically write everything. Okay, so instead of this premium collection, which basically is the brand, right? I can just write product dot brand. For the title I can write product dot name. For price I can write product dot new price, product dot old price, and all the things. So what I'm going to do over here is, instead of premium collection, I will just put a curly braces and write product dot brand. Product dot, not band, brand. Is it brand only or is it something else? Product dot brand. Now this should change, right? If I go back over here, now, okay, right. If you see the brands, every brand is different. There is Roadster, there is Forever 21, there is John Players. Again, there is John Players. Okay, let me change this John Players to some girly brand. Forever 21. Okay, I do not know any girl brand. Let's say I just write Kurta House or Kurti House. What a bad name this is. Okay. So I see over here, if I refresh this should have changed to Kurti House now. Great. Now in the same way we'll change everything, right? So now I know its name. So instead of men's sneakers, I can just write over here product dot name, right? Save it. For price, I'll just change this 170 to product dot new price, and for this old price over here, I can just write in curly braces product. Basically, this curly brace is nothing but the JSX, right? Product dot old price, right? If this is disturbing, then let me just close this. And for discount, since this is 30 over here, I'll just make it over here the JSX product dot, this would be discount. Okay, great. And yeah, that's it. So if I save it now, and if I go back over here, refresh it, okay. So if you see, everything is actually changed. Okay, it's men's shirt, women's shirt, women's t-shirt, and then the prices also are different over here, right? Everything is ending with 750. Just change 1 to something like that. You can change it. The discount is also different, right? Okay, great. So this is actually some good thing, but I have a problem with this code also. The problem with this code is that I have to repeat product again and again, and I have been telling you all since the day 1 or day 2 when we started doing a lot of things. Whenever there is repetition, it's actually it's not an optimized code. You can also always solve the repetition. Solve the repetition is very simple. You basically just do more destructuring. So if you don't know destructuring, learn destructuring. It's amazing. I'll do const. Whatever data I have what I have. I have name, I have the brand, I have the image as well. I have new price, new price, comma old price, comma discount. I have all of these things, which is nothing but in this product object, right? And for image, it is image only, right? Correct. So if I save it now what I can do is, wherever there is this product, I'll just take this product and just say bye bye. So if I save it now, it is still going to work, right? If I refresh it, it's not going to change. Let's download some images for men's shirt and all the things and just add it also. So I'm just going to download some image which should be, let's say, men's shirt, not short, men's shirt, some good images. Okay, this one is a better image. Open image in new tab. I'll just copy this image and add it to my product.json ka image one. This one would be okay. This is not a shirt from Roadster, and I'm not bothered about that. What I'm much bothered is about having some data on thing. Okay, and this again would be another shirt. This is uh, what color is this? Red orange, I think. Okay, so this is also men's shirt. So let me add this image over here. Now I want it for women shirt, and then we'll take women t-shirt also. So women shirt, let's go with this woman. Open image in new tab. Okay, copy this, and let's add the women's shirt. And then what we want is we want women ka t-shirt also. So is any woman wearing any t-shirt? No woman is wearing t-shirt. Over here we have, okay, so we will just use whichever image you want to use, just use it. So use this one, and I'll copy this, and I'll put it over here, which would be women's t-shirt. So of kurti house, let me change this to t-shirt house. T-shirt. If I save this, now I have to also make changes to my product card as well, right? So over here, instead of this source to be this entire shoes image, I'll just remove this, right? And I'll make the source to be nothing but this ing, right? And instead of all to be shoes, I'll make all to be product. Okay. With React, whenever you use an image tag, you have to always add an alt. If you don't add an alt, it will give you errors. Okay. Let me close all of these stupid tabs which I've opened. Close this also. Now if I go back over here and refresh it, now I get all the things. So okay, the styling is totally gone because the images are having different width and height. So then we need to fix this also, right? So the shoes image was good enough, but then we did something which has changed the styling. So we have to change the styling of this image also. It's not that of a big deal. You just have to set a width and height, and then it would be done perfectly. So how do you do that? We basically will create a product card.css, right? And we will basically import this product card CSS over here. So let me just import so how do I import a file? So product card.css. So importing a file and importing a component is two different things. Since it's not a component, I'm not put it in curly braces. But since this product card is a component in app.js, I put this in curly braces. In the product card.css, what I have to do is I have to just set the image. So there is this card image container over here. So we'll use this card image container, and we will set it a fixed height. So card image container and dot card image container, and the height should be I don't know how much should be the height. So let's check the height over here. What I'm going to do basically is I'm actually going to just check what is the height of this image. So the height of this image is 357, but this is too big for me. So I'll just use it as 250, right? So height should be, let's say, 250 pixels. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use this card.image dot card image, and I'm just going to write height is nothing but 100%. So if I save it now, then if I go back over here, so now if you see that everything is working fine and working perfect. The only problem is that these images are not that visible, so don't worry. Over here we can just write object fit, and that should be contained. So if I again go back over here, so I have these, it's perfect now, these images, right? You can add more styling the way you want. If you want to reduce the width, you can reduce the width also. You can keep a fixed height for the width. The other thing that I want to tell you all is do not use 250 pixels, or you should always use rem. So or VW. So what I can do is I'll just open a calculator and I'll just do 250 divided by 16. This is 15.65 M. So we can take it 15 RAM or 16 RAM. So let's go with 16 RAM. Okay, a count bigger, because that makes it more responsive, right? So now it is looking good, but should we reduce the width? Totally depends on you. If we and I think we should reduce the width because it looks more fat, or let's keep it, that is also fine. Okay, but what I want more from this is, now let's also create a navigation bar. Okay, this would take a little while. Okay, because we have only done with the card. Let's create a nav bar also, because if you see in this apparel cart, or the nav bar is not required, we'll just add filter. Okay, fine. Okay. Now what we have to create more is, we have to create the filter component. Creating filter component is actually quite a thing. So yeah, but still we will create it. So we won't create many filters, we'll create only few filters, and then as an assignment I'll want you to create more filters if you are ready to take up the challenge and make assignments. Okay, so in the components, what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to write filter over here. This is basically another component that I'm going to create. See, it's very important to break your entire page into component. Okay, let's talk a little more about components. So let me go to this project of mine. So this basically is an e-commerce application. Now over here, if you see, this is basically the landing page, right? And in the landing page itself, there are components. What is a component? This navigation, okay? This navigation over here, this header. This header is basically one component, right? This header is one component which has the heading and then which has the nav bar, and then I can reuse it again and again. This category over here is basically also a component. I've not written 4 different HTML. I've written only one HTML, and then by using JSX, right, the way we did for products, right, the way we did for products, I've done for category also. I've just created a category.json which has 4 categories: men, women, boys, and then it has their images, and then I'm just using the thing that we wrote, like I'm just mapping over it and just doing it, right? So this is also a component. Now if I go click on anything, let's say I come over here, so now I know that this card, since you have created now, so I know that this card is also a component, correct? Now if you see, the nav bar comes over here. So in another page, in the products page, there is no need to write the code for nav bar again. I can just call that component. Whereas if we have, if we write this, make this entire project in HTML, CSS, JavaScript, it's like a pain, right? A pain everywhere, right? A pain in the mind, a pain writing all things, because on every page you can't write the code for the nav bar, right? So this is what React does. You create a component, and then on every page you can have the same component. Like for example, to give you an example, let's say if I log in over here, okay, if I add this product to wish list, if I go back over to the wish list page, then I have the product directly over here. If you see, it's the exact same product, only this icon has changed, nothing else has changed. So what I'm doing is, I'm not in the wish list page again, I'm not writing the entire HTML. I'm just calling the product card, right? I'm just calling the product card. And then if I see on the products page, there is again filters. All of these filters are again components. So I've created a component for slider, I've created a component for category, created a component for this sort by and rating discount, and for additional features there is one component. So all of these are nothing but only components, right? Why we do components? So that we can reuse it in the same application, right? Reusing does not mean in a different website, but in the same application only. So now you can imagine that I have only one HTML for the product card, but with that one HTML, this page actually has approximately 21 products if I include these out of stock also. So I don't know, there are so many products. Now just imagine writing HTML for all of these things. Index.html will be such big, right? No one will be reading that index.html. Whereas what we do is, we just create one card and just map over it. So this is what React actually does, and this is what component actually is, right? But if you write this in plain HTML JavaScript, Then for every page that you have, this is a products page, then you have to write the code for navbar. If you go to the home, then again in the home page also there will be code for navbar. But in React, we make a component of navbar, use it in the home page, use it in the products page, use it wherever we want to use it. Right? Okay. This project that I've made, you can find it on my GitHub. Okay, and I will put the link to my GitHub in the chat, so you can clone this project, and then you can do whatever you want to do with the project. Then you can clone this project, and then you can see the file that I've written, code that I've written, everything that I've done, and you can work on it. Okay, let me go back to my this thing, and let's create a filter component. Or will you create a filter component on your own? Right? Should I give this to you as an assignment? What do you all say? Will you create the filter on your own? On the sidebar, you just have to create this thing, nothing else. Just have to create this sidebar, and I'm not expecting you to create everything. Just create brand, just create size and price. That's it. Size, brand, and price. You will do these three things only. Will you create it on your own? Can you do that? If yes, then put it in the chat. Then we can write the code tomorrow for that. Say yes or no in the chat. There are 6 people. At least I can expect 1 or 2 yes from you. Not that of a big task, right? Yeah, and as an assignment, just have to make this sidebar. That's it, nothing else, right? I will put the link for this apparel cart also in the GitHub link for this apparel cart. Let me just add a GitHub link to this apparel cart. Just give me a second. I'll add a GitHub link to this apparel cart, and then you can use this apparel cart as well for reference only. Okay, do not take the code and do not plagiarize. You won't find the apparel cart because it's private. So yeah, machine code. Let me just copy this and put it in the chat. Just let me know if you can find it. So this is it. Just click on the link and check if it is check if you can open it. If you have a GitHub account, if you can't open it, just let me know. Because I can't even give you the zip file, that is also a bigger problem. Okay, I have made this repo public as well. Earlier it was private. I've made it public, so you can now use it. Yeah, it shows 404 error, right? Okay, just give me a second. I'm just making it public, so you can use it now. Just hang on for a second, okay? Okay, so yeah, now try it. Now try it, because now it's now I have made it public. It's no more a private repository. So earlier it was a private repository, but now it's a public repository. I'll put the link again in the chat and try again so you can get it. Put the link again in the chat. Just see if you can get it. Do you still get 404 error, or is it working? Just let me know. Yeah, you can just see the filter part for reference. Do not plagiarize, right? Um, okay. You can also follow me on GitHub. There are many projects that I've actually made on GitHub. The repository will only show 33, but there are 40, 45 because most of them are private repositories. Some projects for the client. There are these video library, this quiz app, there is this extension component library. You can clone these repositories and add something of your own to these repositories. There are uh, a lot of mini project if you go down with uh, what do you say with JavaScript as well. So you can follow me on GitHub as well. There is my LinkedIn profile in the description. You can follow me on LinkedIn as well, so we can stay connected. And yeah, if you have any questions, doubt, you can ask over here, or you can put it on LinkedIn as well. I'm a good man. I'll give you a reply also. Okay, and yeah, follow me on GitHub as well. Okay. Okay, great. Okay, so yeah, that's it. So, do you have any questions? Please do this assignment. Okay, if you do the assignment, then only everything will work out because I am going to come prepared and I am going to make the filter part. I'm just going to start writing the code tomorrow because tomorrow it may take 1 hour, 1.5 hour extra half an hour, and tomorrow is Sunday, so you'll have to sacrifice the Sunday. And try and add rating also. We didn't add this rating in our file. The rating is not there in our file. There's no need to add navbar. I'm not expecting navbar, but add rating. Rating will actually make it look a little elegant, right? Yeah, that's it from the session. If you do not have any questions, then we can close the session. And I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you for following me on GitHub. Thank you. I'll keep on adding more projects, and you can see those projects. There are projects on TypeScript that I'm making, so I'll add projects on TypeScript. There are projects on Redux that I'm making, so I'll add those projects as well to make it public. There are projects on Webpack that I'm making. I'll add those projects as well and make it public, so you can use it. Okay. Great. So I will see you in the coming sessions. Thanks for the session. Thank you for being there. Thank you for coming for the session. It really gives me a lot of boost and encouragement. Thank you guys. I will see you. Bye bye.